which are very common, unfortunately, in motorcycle stuff. So we have a very, very elite staff here to train you. We have Dr. Gallagher here from Orlando Health as well. He's a colorectal surgeon, but he believes in public service. We have Jacob Eisner, who's a med student at UAB. Raise your hand, Jacob. There you go. Andrew Sasser, there he is. Khalid Gibran, who's a resident at University of Miami Jackson. Timothy Coe, another med student at UM. Maya Shah, another med student at UM. Avinash Goganani, he works at UM and he's a trained physician from India and he's a researcher. Sonia Hernandez, who has a master's in biomedical science. Mark Welch, who is a writer himself.
He's a nobody.
And a motorcycle instructor, riding instructor. Cheryl Alvarado from Orlando Health. Chris Bolsonaro, Ed Hall, Susan Smith. I'm sorry you have so many letters after your name. Monica Howington and Derry Westfall. So this is a collection and needed the jaws of life to get her out. She had a massive open fracture of her extremity and was bleeding excessively. And Officer Pettifer was able to put a tourniquet on her extremity above the open fracture and saved her life because it took an hour to get her out of that car. And she would have just exsanguinated on the scene if he didn't know how to do that. Okay, so that's really important. So what else can happen? Well, basically, if you're in a motorcycle crash, you can have a brain injury, and a brain injury will compromise your airway. But to find out if you're having a problem breathing, someone has to look under your helmet to see if you're breathing, and then they have to know how to access your airway to help you open the airway to breathe. Because when you become unconscious, and actually when we do our study, it's like 50-50. If you have like a couple of drinks on board or something like that, it actually is more likely to happen. But basically what happens when you're unconscious, your tongue falls in the back of your throat and blocks your airway. So by doing a simple maneuver, you can open the person's airway, because by the time the paramedics might get there, you're going to stop breathing long enough that you'll have a cardiac arrest. So that's a problem. But there is an incidence of spine fractures with motorcycle crashes. So in order to take a helmet off safely, unless you have one of these brand new ones that you pull tabs and they pop off, which is very nice, but if you don't have that, it takes two people to do this safely. You can't do it with just one person. Now, there was a big issue with this, because basically there used to be a sticker like this that said, danger, do not remove the helmet unless you're a physician or a paramedic. And so for that reason, nobody was taking helmets off, nobody was realizing if anybody was breathing or not. So that was a big problem. And we realized this when we were actually in Miami-Dade County. We did a autopsy study, and we found that 25% of the scene fatalities actually had totally survivable injuries, and they died from head injuries and airway loss. So they didn't really have a head injury that would kill them. They just got knocked out. They lost their airway. Nobody opened it, and they just lay there until they arrested. And by the time the paramedics got there, it was too late. So that's why we started this program, because just by opening the airway, taking the helmet off, opening the airway, you can actually save someone's life. Okay, now this is already been said. So what do I do to make this work? Yeah.
And welcome to Survive the Ride video for EMS and first responders on how to remove motorcycle and scooter helmets from crash victims. The techniques in this video follow Florida PHTLS protocol. Always remember to follow your respective agency's protocol before and after helmet removal. The following video was made with the help and sponsorship of the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine, the Gordon Center for Research and Medical Education, Ryder Trauma Center, and a state-sponsored Florida Department of Transportation grant. The first rescuer lies or kneels in a stable position to maintain full inline immobilization of the patient's head and neck by placing their hands on each side of the helmet with fingers on the patient's mandible. This position prevents slippage if the strap is loose. A second rescuer then disconnects or cuts the helmet's chin strap or face shield. Be aware, some modern helmets may have visible pull tabs for a modular release, allowing easier disassembly for such emergency events. After removing any straps securing the helmet, the second rescuer places one hand on the patient's mandible with the thumb on one side and the long and index fingers on the other. The second hand secures the patient's head and neck by applying pressure to the posterior occipital region. For added support, your arms should rest on the ground. This maneuver transfers the inline immobilization responsibility to the second rescuer. Once inline immobilization has been transferred, the second rescuer signals the first rescuer that they have assumed stabilization of the patient's head and neck. The first rescuer may then begin removing the helmet using slow, cautious up and down rocking motions. Three factors should be kept in mind. The helmet is egg-shaped and therefore must be expanded laterally to clear the ears. If the helmet provides full face coverage, check for glasses and remove them. The nose may be removable. To clear the nose, the helmet must be tilted backward and raised over it. Throughout the removal process, the second rescuer maintains full inline immobilization from below to prevent unnecessary neck motion. After the helmet has been removed, the first rescuer may place padding on the patient's head to aid in maintaining inline immobilization.
Okay, so basically, at that point in time, you all don't have cervical collars with you, so the best you can do at that point is to bunch up a jacket or a blanket or whatever you have handy and lay the patient's head down so it's in a vertical formation. As you can see, the helmet is keeping the neck straight, so you have to put some padding under the head so it stays straight. So if the person is unconscious, they'll just stay in that position and they won't move. If they wake up and they have a C-spine injury, usually they would feel it. You should feel it, it would hurt them. So, then what can happen? You may not be breathing because you have a minor brain injury. That's a totally survivable brain injury is what we found. Like just a brain injury that would send you home from the trauma center the same day with a little headache. They would just, be followed up and that's it. So basically the maneuver that we want to use to open the airway in trauma patients is the jaw thrust. So I want you all to go ahead and feel your earlobes. And I want you to come down so that you feel the corner of your jaw. It's kind of like squared off. So in that part of the jaw that's between that squared off area and your earlobes, you're going to take two hands and push forward. Like this. And you can feel your jaw move. If you turn it off, okay? So it's very hard to talk when you do that. Now it's a little bit difficult to do this for ourselves because we're awake and our muscles are tightening and we're kind of tense about it. But when someone's unconscious, it's very easy. So there's another video we have to show you this demonstration. Okay, video for a sec. See how it's like, just don't look at his mouth, just look at his chin. Can you do it again? One more time. Open it again. Please can't watch. People watch? Okay, that's the move that gets the tongue out from your airway. Allows air to pass back and forth. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this over to Cheryl. And she's going to teach you about stopping bleeding. And then when all of this talking is over, we'll do some hands-on and report to your first paper.
If we have a question, do we just wait until we get to the different stations? Like,
No, well,
what if there's only two of you? The person that you're riding with is down and you're the only one to remove the helmet?
that means you have to fly someone down to help them, or you can't move it.
Okay.
And you have to really feel confident in how to do it, so you can explain to somebody else of what they have to do safely. I'm sorry, I can answer the questions about that part. Go ahead.
So when you do that jaw movement,
Yeah.
you just stay in that position and keep their mouth open till the EMTs
We would
arrive?
hope they would wake up,
Okay.
but you don't have a nasal trumpet, you don't have stuff to keep their airway open.
So you just hold it.
So you would have to hold it as much as you can. And hopefully they would start breathing, or if you could use CPR or whatever at that point. See if they wake up. Yes.
I've actually been in an accident myself, but we never land like that. We're never flat on our back head up. If they're turned,
You have to log roll the person.
Okay, that's
Since
better
you
than
have
that.
two people, you're gonna try to log roll them under the back. That's a good question. A lot of people ask that question. Any other questions? Okay, so now we'll learn how to stop breathing.
Hi, welcome. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, the mic's working so loud anyway, so I'll be getting muted. Anyway, I'm Cheryl. I'm a nurse. I work for Orlando Regional Medical Center. here to be able to pack wounds and use tourniquets. Has anybody here taken a couple days course or know what it is? Just a couple, okay. Well, Stop the Bleed wasn't created because of motorcycle accidents. It was actually created in response to Sandy Hook, which is a shooting that took place December 14, 2012. And the shooter walked in and mowed down 26 to 7-year-olds, 6 adults, his mother, and his child. And what we learned from that, what was Dr. Byer was talking about, is it takes longer for EMS to get on the scene than it takes you to bleed to death. So that's why you'll be learning this today, because you will become the immediate responders on the scene while you're waiting for FHP or your EMTs to arrive. So this is a group called the Hartford Consensus. That's who put this group, this whole program together. And those are comprised of trauma surgeons, ED physicians, paramedics, law enforcement, military. Everybody got together and said, what are the bare bones things that we can put in the toolbox that you can save someone's life? So this says that there are some images in here that are disturbing. There's literally one image in this entire presentation. They're working on a new presentation right now, should be out momentarily, but it's not here yet. And they took a lot of this stuff out. People didn't really want to look at it, but the facts are, if you are putting pressure on a patient's injury, a victim, if you're putting pressure on them or packing a wound and putting pressure, or you're putting a tourniquet on somebody, it's because there's a lot of blood. It's not a paper cut. So just bear with it. There's only one injury in here, but we'll see that in a minute. The reason you're here, the number one cause of preventable death after an injury is bleeding. That we know. And it was created because of a shooting that took place in Sandy Hook, but that's definitely not the only thing you can use this for. Clearly, motorcycle accidents happen. Dr. Byron said, we're number one in the country for these right now. I had a friend that works in a doctor's office that I go to. She lost her son 2 weeks ago in a motorcycle accident. So you know what happens. And you having this in your toolbox is going to help you learn to save, be able to, like Dr. Byron said, remove helmets, address bleeding injuries. This is all going to be something you can do to each other to save each other's life while you're waiting for EMS to get there. Other than that, this can be used at home if you cut yourself. When you're cutting breakfast, you slice your arm open. You can do this to yourself. It's car accidents, it's anything. So you can use this information anytime there's a bleeding injury. So what do we need to do today? We need to identify what does a real life-threatening bleed look like. Not some small cut, like I have right here, I don't need a tourniquet for that, but a life-threatening bleed. What does that look like? Be able to identify it and then take steps to stop that. Who wants to show me, what do you do if you cut your arm with a knife when you're cooking breakfast? What do you do? Exactly, apply pressure. That's going to be your first line of defense for everything. A tourniquet's great if you have it readily available. It's right there. If somebody gets injured, it happens to be an extremity. So if it's an arm or leg, you got a tourniquet in your pocket, like I have one sitting right here. Somebody walks in this room and starts shooting, I can put the tourniquet on you. It's your arm or leg, I have it readily available. I can't go look for that. Someone else can, if they have a kit, or if they've got tourniquets with them, they can go look for that. But you're the first one on the scene. We need to get help on the way, and we need to get pressure on the injury immediately. Your safety is first. So if you get injured, obviously you can't help anyone else. So you're riding your bikes and somebody gets hit or you take a bike down, you're trying to help them. You need to make sure it's safe for you actually to help someone. So that means, are there cars flying at you? Are you on I-4? Is it safe for you to actually get off your bike and help? So you need to make sure someone's, watching out for you so you don't get hit also. So safety is first. Help others when it's safe to do so. If it's unsafe, you need to get yourself to safety first. If that happens, you're out there, you're trying to help someone, all of a sudden now there's something else that's taking place, maybe it's more cars on the road, they're coming towards you. You need to get yourself to safety. And we need to be careful with just moving a victim, because Dr. Byron just explained to you the safe way to help somebody who's down. So we're going to be careful about moving anyone unless they're maybe like in a situation where maybe they're in a car that's burning or something like that, or something's on fire, then we would move someone. But other than that, we're not going to move them because we could cause them more harm by moving them. Wear gloves if you can. How many people here have gloves with them? Okay, that's good. So maybe after this, maybe we'll start stashing some gloves in our pocket, right? On our bike somewhere, or in our vest. So you want to keep something like that around if you can. But if not, think about anything that can protect your hands. So maybe you have something in a bag. You have something on your bike that's in a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, see if you need to be seen, if you need to go to an ER. So alerting 911, of course, that's something you need to do immediately. You come upon your victim, or you just lay the bike down, you know he's injured, you need to get 911 on the way, because we know we don't want to be trying to do this forever. We know that we need to have an EMS there, ambulance needs to be on scene to help us, so you need to get 911 called. And what does that look like? You're on your phone, you dial, if you're by yourself, you dial 911, put that on speaker, put the phone on the ground, now you're able to aid your victim. If we have several people with us, are we going to yell that into the crowd? Are we going to say, go call 911? Actually, we need to appoint someone. So I need to look at him and say, you need to call 911. I need to make sure he understood me, because we don't want everyone to call or no one to call. So we need to make sure we appoint somebody, let them know that's their responsibility to get 911 coming. Know your location. Of course, if you're out on an interstate, try to pay attention to what mile marker you're at, what was your last exit, so that you can direct them. You know, it's hard, like if we had to get a EMS right here, we'd have to tell them, yeah, we're in the ballroom, or which one. You know, so try to watch where you are, try to be, aware of your surroundings so that you can guide them so they can get to you quicker. And then follow their instructions, because if you forget everything that you learned today and you tell 911 that you have a bleeding victim in front of you, they're going to talk you through this. So here's our only injury in the entire presentation. This is an easy one. The person's wearing shorts, they're running around, someone's standing over them. That's your identification, is letting you know, I know where this person is bleeding from. So that's an easy one. But sometimes, it may be hidden. You may not see it this easily. So what are we looking for then? Maybe I came in and I had a white shirt on, and somebody started shooting, and all of a sudden, you see my shirt's red now. That means I'm bleeding somewhere, right? So maybe our clothing is completely soaked. Continuous bleeding. Maybe they're in a large volume or a pool of blood, or maybe the pool just keeps getting bigger, so you know there's something in there, somebody's bleeding. Or if it's an artery, we cut our arm, like I said, when we're cooking, and that's going to be spurting across the room. That's an easy one. Blood is leaving the body, and it's leaving quickly, and we need to save as much as possible. Marking multiple places, and clothing could be hiding it. If you can't see the injury, the clothes need to come off, because you need to be able to focus your efforts right where it's bleeding. So if they have clothing on that's all full of blood, you're going to need to get that off quick. So our arms and legs, that's the only place that can take a tourniquet. If Ed doesn't stop taking pictures of me while I'm doing this presentation, can I put this on his neck? You never know. I want to on these things, but no. So these are arms and legs only if it's readily available. If you have it right there on your bike and you can put it on somebody who has an arm or leg injury, that's when you use it. We're not going to stop. We're not going to get off our bike and say, no, it's in his bag somewhere. We don't want to do that. Because 2 to 3 minutes is always going to take someone. If they have a large enough injury, we do that, and we can't take that chance. We need to get pressure on it immediately.
Could you pull the microphone away just a little bit?
Yeah,
It's really getting
you're
all
very
around.
muffled.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so our arms and legs, they don't have to have a tourniquet, but that's the only place that can take a tourniquet. Those can easily take pressure or packing the pressure if it's a large enough injury. Our next armpit groins, that's the ones we said. No tourniquet, pressure or packing of pressure. This guy on the end with the torso injury, that's going to be one that needs to go quickly to a trauma center, because you're really not going to know what's injured. Even if I just got shot just now, and I've got it on my right-hand side of my torso, I have an entrance. Here I got an exit, and you can plug up both of those till the cows come home, it doesn't matter. What got hit on the inside? Was it the heart, spleen, liver? It could be anything, and you really don't know what that is. So you tell 911 operator, I've got somebody here with a chest injury or torso injury, they need to get to a trauma center quickly. So what do you notice different in this picture? He's got pressure on it with what?
Some sort of
So
towel.
we took that shirt off. So we don't always have to put gauze inside of a wound. We can take a shirt that we're wearing off, we can take clothes off of a victim, we can take socks off of a victim and put it inside of a wound. Because that happens out in the field, and they're going to get antibiotics when they get to the hospital anyway. So anything that's an absorbent material can go into a wound. So he took off his shirt, he put it on top of there, because sometimes injuries are deep enough, and these little vessels right here are not where we're bleeding from. They're deep inside. So we need to pack something in if it's large enough so that we can, when we put pressure, we're putting enough pressure to reach those vessels. So you want to get pressure directly to the wound. So that's a pretty big wound there. If pressure stops that bleeding, we're definitely not checking our work. We're not gonna lift it back up and see if it stops bleeding. We notice that it stopped, we're gonna hold that until help arrives. So these are the training limbs we have in the back, and you'll see they're actually, she identified it, she pointed to where am I gonna put pressure. She's using a shirt right there. You can see just like the shirts we're wearing, as I say, this shirt stops the bleed. You can take that t-shirt, whatever it is that you have that's an absorbent material, just put it right on top of it. Act like you do a CPR, but don't bounce. Just put those hands together, interlock your fingers, use the heel of your hand, lock your elbows, and put as much pressure as you possibly can on top of that wound. For your large wounds right here, you see it packed deep inside right here, and we'll show you when you get in the back how to do that. But we want to pack material in. If it looks like it's big enough to take packing, then it probably needs packing. If it's so small you couldn't get something inside of it, that's the ones that just get pressure. But this one, we're going to pack as much as we can inside of that wound. You take whatever material is left, we put that on top, and that's where we put our pressure. So they're going to pack the other wound in this picture. And we're using a gauze here that's called quick clot. It goes by some other names, but it's impregnated with a chemical that stops bleeding. It helps the blood and the blood to clot. So he's using that to put inside of that wound. They're going to pack as much as they can inside of there so that the vessels that are bleeding inside are weak. And that's like a gauzy wound there. It'll take all of that. Whatever you have, you just pack it as much as you can get in there, and then put whatever's on top, put your pressure. So we don't have tourniquets here. What goes almost on the legs? Pressure. What about the one in the center? Pressure or having no pressure and the guy on the end? Yeah, really. Call RMC, let the bird come get him. Okay, so tourniquets, let's talk about those for a second. What you're going to practice with today, and this is actually one of the easiest ones, we were part of the group that are training FHP. We train the local FHP troops, and we actually coordinated the rest of it around the state to get these guys all trained. But they are actually carrying these now. And I know there were other maybe soft teams, I think it was, a lot of law enforcement carried in the past. And these are actually a very easy one to use. I'll do this with this in my hand. Okay, so I'm going to take you through this real quick.
Looks like a belt, it's not a belt, okay? Part of it looks like a belt, it's a Velcro strap that goes all the way around, smooth side on the inside, goes against the skin. It does go through a buckle, but that's where your tourniquet, that's where your belt part of it ends.
thing is, you only have 5 liters of blood, right? When you lose blood, the reason why you don't keep checking it, right? Because I know you want to save the limb, you don't want to have an amputation, but you only have 5 liters. And the reality is, if you lose 2 liters, you're probably going to die, right? So you say, well, I want to get a little bit of blood to it because it's so blue, it looks so bad. I want it to pink up for a second, right? But every time you do that, a Coke can's worth of blood spills on the floor, right? Until it can be replaced, that's when the person, that person, like when the EMTs show up and they give them IVs, or they go to the trauma center, they give them blood, they're gonna start to replace that, so now they can check. Does that make sense? That's why every little ounce at a certain point matters. Like every Coke can worth of blood loss, right? 2 liters, you're talking about 2-liter bottles of Coke. That's how much it takes before you're gonna die.
Yeah, but no, in 2.5 hours.
At the end of the day, you only have so much blood unless someone's actively giving you blood, and that's not gonna happen in the field, right? So every drop of blood you lose in the field, you're not getting it back unless you get to a center. That's why you don't check, and that's why the limb can look horrible. And that's true, and that's just the way it goes.
Absolutely. If I put that tourniquet on right now and I taught the whole presentation with it on, my arm would turn blue and it will pink back up as soon as I take that tourniquet off. So we don't need to try to let it get any blood flow. That will happen once they get to the hospital. So they're going to take you through the same thing that we just did, except they're doing it from an open position. They're going to put that strap through the buckle. Every now and then, a limb is stuck in something, whether it's entrapped in a car or something on the bike where you can't actually slide the tourniquet on, so you would do it from an open position. But you see how tight it's pulled? You see that clothing cinching down, and they haven't even started twisting that rod yet.
It hurts.
It hurts.
When you go in the back, you'll be able to practice with the tourniquets. You can yourself on each other limbs, whatever. You'll be able to see what they feel like. You need to talk them through. But the good news is, if they're fighting you and screaming and saying that, take this thing off, they've got enough blood left in them, they're still conscious. So that's a great thing. If they're fighting you, if they're just laying there, hopefully it's not too late. But it's a good thing if they're waiting and telling you to take it off. So this big cat tourniquet, that is the one we're using. Like I said, that's the one FHP switched to, and a lot of people are going to because it's a really easy one to use. There are others out there. I don't want to tell you if you're a former Boy Scout, military, whatever, and you know how to use those and you own it, definitely use a tourniquet as long as you know how to use it properly. In children, if you have children around you and something like this happens, if it's a small enough child, the design that tourniquet only goes to a certain size for a small limb. Other than that, you could probably stop the bleeding of a child with one hand if they're small enough. If not, if they're a large child, you treat them just like an adult. There are things that can stop it, like you think that you're doing it correctly, you're either putting enough pressure or you know your tourniquet's on right. Maybe somebody has really high blood pressure, you're going against that. Maybe they take a blood thinner because they have atrial fibrillation. Maybe they have a hemophilia, factor deficiency that's making them bleed. So sometimes you're doing everything right and they're still bleeding. And maybe then we put a second tourniquet or we pack the wound anyway and we put pressure. Sometimes you can do everything. And maybe the injury is just that big. So sometimes you might need to put a little more effort into it. Impaled objects, did we take them out?
No.
Why not?
Clean.
Before you leave it alone, don't touch it. Improvised tourniquets, we don't build them because how long do we say it takes to bleed to death? If your injury is big enough? Just a few minutes. How long does it take to build a tourniquet? You gotta get supplies, go get your string and your stick and whatever else, that takes minutes. What did Dr. Becker say? Those minutes, we're losing blood. We're losing liters of blood while you're thinking, do I have supplies to build this? So right now, we don't have that tourniquet readily available in the arm or leg, we're going straight to pressure. We don't need to build a
Where
tourniquet.
do you get the belt on? I mean, the belt.
Well, what I showed you here is that once we put this on, this is all we have if we have a belt. We get right here, and that's the belt. The belt doesn't have this windlass rod, that slip, and that nylon ribbon running all the way through.
But could you do that hand pressure?
If you didn't have that.
So the idea is you have to stop the arterial bleeding, which is the top number of the blood pressure,
Yeah.
right? So she puts that on only with the belt module, Can you feel your pulse still in the radial pulse? Go ahead. You can try this. Put it on like this, make it as tight as you can, and see if you can still feel your pulse. And if you can, I'll tell you, you'll keep bleeding and you'll bleed even worse. Because when you go to get your blood drawn, they put a tourniquet on you to pop your veins up so that it's easy for you to bleed to get the blood in the tube. So that's what you'll be accomplishing. Increase bleeding.
You have a scarf or something?
You have to be able to tighten it down.
See that rod right there?
Try to build on yourself and see if you can get rid of your pulse. Pressure.
So, I mean,
So don't worry about a belt.
the primary goal is this, first primary goal is to stop or reduce the bleeding as much as possible,
Yes.
right? That's your number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goal, right? Now, if there's 5 other people sitting around and there's other ideas, right? Like the belt is, no belt has, unless you're really skinny, no belt's gonna have holes all the way down, right? You're gonna have to tool around and do something, right? But the number 1 goal for, if you're 1-on-1, there's 2 people on the bike and one's down and one's up, right? The one up is gonna be holding pressure the whole time. You're not gonna say, oh, I wanna now try the belt and relax it and do the belt, right? Now, if there's someone holding really good pressure and they wanna tool around and do other crap, I don't care, right? They can do that, as long as you never let go of that pressure. Every ounce of blood that that person loses out in the field is never gonna get back, right? Every little dribble, oh, it's only a little bit, right? When you're sick and you've already been on the ground and there's already a big pool of blood, it only takes 2 liters of blood and then you're dead, right? So you have got, that's your primary goal is, I'm gonna hold this blood, I'm gonna hold this wound until EMT, someone else gets here. Now, if someone else has an idea, I am never gonna let go of that arm that I'm holding pressure on. Other people can put stuff upstream, but I am never gonna let hold of that hole because I am stopping that from bleeding to death.
And just to make the argument for the blood loss even stronger, when you see someone who's been in any kind of a crash, you don't even know if they could have a slow internal bleed or something like that. So you're saving every drop of blood you possibly can to keep that person alive, because they could be losing blood internally that you don't even know they're losing. So you could be actually saving their life by actually leaving that blood inside. So blood needs to be in your body to get the job done. Blood on the street doesn't help at all. So you can't really fool around, like Dr. Gallagher said.
Absolutely. We don't have that tourniquet readily available in our pocket, on our person, whatever, however you have it on the belt. If we don't have it readily right there and it's on our leg, we don't worry about it. We're going straight to pressure. When you cut yourself at home, when you are cooking, and you cut it, that knife slips right here, that's an arterial bleed, it's shooting across the room. You're not walking around there saying, I know there's a tourniquet in the door. You grab it.
sense than what we do in the trauma center. And to address the concern that the person had with the arm, we are all trained as trauma surgeons. It's life over limb. Okay? It's life over limb. If we have a patient that has a belly full of blood and a thing bleeding out their arm, we actually put a tourniquet and take the patient to surgery to open their abdomen and stop this bleeding further.
Once again, it comes down to 2 liters. You have 5 liters in your body. If you lose more than 2 liters, even if I took 2 liters out, poured on the floor, and put it right back in, you're probably going to die. Right? You need, so 2 liters, think of how much 2 liters is.
It's not much.
It's not much. So go home tonight, pour 2 liters all over your floor and clean it up. And that's how much that person's life is. Right? So yes, sometimes it is what it is, right? They may be having a cardiac arrest and bleeding, right? They will absolutely die for sure, right? Because I cannot tell honestly sometimes unless I hook up to a machine for sure what's going on with their heart, right? But I can with my own eyes, my daughter can look at the wound and say, that's bleeding, right? If you can see someone that's bleeding, that's the number one thing. If you can't stop that, it doesn't matter how much CPR you do. That's like way down on the list, right?
Okay, instructors, make sure you have your table assignments. Sonia has all the table assignments if you don't have them. Everyone here, go to your tables, get what table you're supposed to report to first. Sign in there, and after that, we'll need to sign in. Go back and sign the examiner, we have to go in.
Strong.
What you looking for, Bob?
Yeah, table 8, yeah.
These are your injuries. Practice. Pressure. because it works the easiest to be able to we're not worried about this. Let it hang. This is the important part. You're going probably done it. But I need That's it.
Great job, Craig. Saved a life.
So you see what happens, it takes 2 minutes, and you get this big, to bring to that. So that's 2 minutes, but as long as everybody dies. It's like blood, it's like blue. While you're going, I got this big, I got this big, I got a pen, I got this pause right here. I know I can make something. While you're making this, you're bleeding. You're bleeding.
What's going to give you that? You hold the pressure, you're going to be there for 15 minutes.
But it's not going to stop.
I like that.
Until you let it out. You want to everyone sign in here. What questions do you guys
Don't buy it from China. Someone who volunteers
put them on our legs, you know, put it on our legs and go a little higher, they say.
And goes not real quick. And goes one turn, oh yeah. It changed.
Did you do it? Yeah, you can feel it.
Good going on there.
And it's not going
Whatever car explodes, right? I understand, especially with some of the modulars. Yeah. Said they can.
Well, you know, the other thing is,